and I will share my screen about the issue that we're looking at. So as opposed to looking at just a Jest status issue, I was thinking it'd be helpful to solve this flaky spec. And this is flaky because it times out too long. And you see here that we have a time of 5 seconds. So there's a lot to be winned here if we can make it, less than a second, which would be great. And maybe we can figure out how to avoid long specs like this in the first place, or identify them as we start moving things over. I can drive. Does anyone else want to drive, or how are you all feeling? Okay, I'll go for it. I was doing something else, but I'm gonna assume it wasn't important. So Jackie, you asked a really good question. Can you re-ask your question?
Right. So we were talking about how the timeout is different on your local host than it is from CI, and I just wasn't sure where that comes from and how come we're not using the same configuration of time.
Yeah, this is a really good question. I'm not entirely sure where it comes from. It's probably gonna everything. This is kind of like our entry point for this test setup file is like our entry point for Jest setting up the Jest environment. So it'll come here. Oh, here we go. And then it looks like we have this helper function, initialize test timeout. And then if it's CI, you see we're gonna wait 5 seconds, but locally we wait 500 milliseconds. The reasoning behind this, I think originally we had it at 500 milliseconds, and it was like that for CI and locally. But then there was some significant flakiness in CI.
Right.
So we started to increase it, hoping to find a good place where it would be consistently fail at and show when there's a test that's slow and we need to make it faster. But I think anytime you have some sort of threshold like this, there's room for flakiness because we're in a non-deterministic environment every time CI runs, and that's just the nature of it. But the goal here is to trying to prevent slow tests from making it in our code base. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that there's maybe some other approaches we could take with that, or? Vitaly, what do you think about slow tests?
I think that's a problem. For example, with one roadmap, it was migrated by me, and I also would like to point that we have a lot of timeout in our specs. And important point to note that because we run all our tests in band, so we run our tests in parallel, some of them can fail due to it. So we should keep that in mind. And another important point that's Jest and GSDOM, in fact, are really fast tools. So we should have our test really fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it hurts that this job can take like, let me go to where it is. So this doesn't run fixtures. That's in a separate job. Oh, come on, GitLab. Okay. Yeah, it takes up, it's up there in how long it takes. And say, look, here's 11 minutes, and we ran 700-ish test suites. Oh my gosh, almost 8,000 individual tests. We have a lot of unit tests. So I wonder what the average time per test is. I'm starting to just get curious, not necessarily solving the problem at hand. but yeah, no, Jest is really fast. But we have a lot that are, you know, the whole file can take like 10 to 20 seconds sometimes. And that's, we haven't done something right when we're doing things at this unit test level, but maybe we're spinning everything up. We're doing unit tests, we're focused on an individual unit, but then we spin everything up. We're probably not testing at the right level. I'm all for doing integration tests, but let's not test it. Let's not have, you know, integrations tests for every unit. That's going to be an anti-pattern and cause really slow tests. That's I think something that's probably happening here. But anyways, let's fix this. Let's see what we can do to fix it. Let's copy this. All right. Let me go ahead and run it. So locally, the timeout will be 500 milliseconds. So I'm kind of hoping that it fails. So you can have some assurance when we fix it. Otherwise, we might be shooting in the dark. Let's go check out. Oh, here it is. Is this it? Yeah, with extended. Yeah, this is it. Wow, why would this one take like more than 500 seconds? Unless maybe we're doing something really long and like a before each. Well, I guess, well. It looks like we're shallow mounting too. Oh, one did fail. Wow. Why are you taking so long? Extending the roadmap timeline. Is this one doing mount? This one is doing a full mount. All these other ones are doing shallow mount, but this one's doing a full mount. And it can take, I guess it can take a long time. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not really sure what you mean by create component and you pass the mount function in it. Never seen that before.
Yeah, we've done this. We do this sometimes when, and this can happen when we're migrating specs. We want to migrate. We're migrating. I've seen us introduce this sometimes when we're migrating specs. If we're migrating a 2 view test utils, before everything was full mounted for sure. But what we'll do is we'll notice, oh, well, these can actually be shallow mounted, but these other specs actually need to be full mounted. So sometimes we do this and we pass in this rather than just hard coding, oh, create component shallow mount. We'll pass in a based on what level of testing we're trying to migrate specs over, we'll pass in either a full mount or a shallow mount here.
For our test that's long, what is, so I don't know if this is right, but my understanding for using mount was when you're trying to test a child component of the component. And what is that for this test that we're trying to get to?
That is a really good question. I don't even see us do anything with a component. Yeah, what happens if we just change the shallow mount?
Worth a shot.
Yeah, that's what I was going to try as well.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Well, it was a lot faster. Oh, check this out. What's going on here? Oh, okay. Roadmap timeline section. Oh, we are looking for that everywhere. Yes. Oh, that's interesting. Let's check out our actual component here. Roadmap timeline element. We process, what's going on here? once timeline, we need to, okay, we're doing some scrolling processing on this element. And where's that element coming from? Must be coming from handle scroll to extend. Okay. So if I was going to do this in a shallow mounty way, my action would be this component emits something, and we can just pass in any element to that. Rather than it looks like we're full mounting and letting roadmap do its thing. And we don't even manually trigger like on scroll to start or something like that. Yeah. So I wonder if our tests for roadmap shell, do they handle when this event gets triggered or not? Do we have any like on scroll? No, so we don't have any tests for that. Well, what are your thoughts? Because I could see the benefit to doing these things in integration. Huge benefit there. But I guess sometimes it's slow, especially we're doing some scrolly stuff, and it looks like we don't really have individual unit tests that this stuff is getting triggered. What are your?
I think we are just hitting a JS DOM stuff. We know that the JS DOM is slow and Node.js environment when we run a test, because we are doing a lot of scrolling here.
I think I have an idea. Like I know for sure that debounce doesn't work in Jest. And if this function if this component is using debounce, which means debounce isn't working and the scroll event is firing very rapidly. And there's a lot of stuff happening which shouldn't really happen in a normal browser environment. So yeah, if we can get to that, maybe get to that conclusion that we are using debounce here, so that will solve our problem.
Yeah, I don't see the bounce in these specs. It's something that we did do recently in our Jest folder, because the bounce was causing lots of issues with us migrating from Karma. We did make the bounce manually mocked for all specs, and it just calls the function synchronously. So that ideally shouldn't be causing issues because it was causing issues, but hopefully it's not. What were you saying, Jackie?
What's debounce do?
This is a good question, and let me see if I can answer it with a picture, because it's hard to explain it.
Thanks, I'm new.
No, yeah, you're good. I'm not going to open up RX Marbles because I think that would be just more confusing. Yes. Oh, great. Yes. Debounce. What am I doing? Oh, yeah. See how I can move it and then there's a delay before it does in the event? And I can keep moving it, but then once I stop, it'll do the event. That's what debounce does. And so if I like typing, it lets the user keep typing, and then once I've paused for a little bit, then it will send the whole message over or something like that.
Oh, okay.
That's one use case.
Awesome.
So it just, it swallows all the events until, okay, we've had a delay for like 200 milliseconds. Let's trigger the last one. That's what debounce does. Super helpful for UX things like that. Throttle's a little different, and it's its cousin. This one is like, I'll keep moving it, but it's just going to space them out every 200 milliseconds. And so sometimes you want to do throttle. For user input, it's usually not the thing you want to do. Usually we use like debounce for like user input or scrolling, like because the user wants to do something fluid and then they'll pause for a second, then we do our thing or whatever. That's what we use debounce for. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm glad this was a good illustration. There's some really unhelpful illustrations out there. um, but as you can see, that kind of asynchronous behavior, if it used just the regular like timeouts, it wouldn't cause a problem with Jest. But Lodash's implementation of debounce actually uses like request animation frame, like other things that we haven't mocked in Jest, and just causes issues. So this is why when we were working on moving things over, we always ran into issues with debounce, and we thought, okay, it's just going to be faster if we just mock it all out. But we have some improvements we hopefully want to do with that. But doesn't seem like it's necessarily the issue here. The issue at hand here is we're doing some integration testing here, and that's a good thing. Like integration testing is, I feel like, is good, but it seems like it's slow. What are your thoughts on? Okay, let's now create, focused unit tests on it. Do you feel like we're losing some benefit, like some test coverage? Maybe we should somehow make these integrations faster. What are your thoughts on that?
I just have another question. Do we separate integration tests from unit tests? I know we don't, but in theory, should we?
I would think in theory we should. This is a largely in my opinion, I'd love to know Vitaly and Himanshu and Jackie your experience. This is largely unexplored area in our GitLab front end code base, is what do front end integration tests look like. I have an issue this milestone's actually kind of to do one, and so hopefully we can have an example to work off of. But it's a
separate directory, like.
That's a good question. I kind of think it should be. I think it should be based on feature, and I think we should then have integration, because it's not going to tie back to a unit. It would be, we're testing this front end feature and integration. It's going to be we're going to have issues like this, and our tests are going to be really slow if for every unit we do an integration. That's an anti-pattern. If I do an integration for the front end bundle, I'm going to get all of my integration benefits, but now I'm testing from the use case perspective, not necessarily from my unit perspective. And so there's a little bit of anti-pattern we have in our front end testing, which is lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of unit tests, and then feature tests. And like there's this huge missing area in our testing pyramid, which is front end integration tests. But it's tough because we have, previously we were doing full mounts. Previously we were kind of doing full integration of some things.
Would this test we're looking at here be a good candidate for the first integration test to move and create that?
Yeah, maybe.
But then we would lose unit. Well, we don't have the unit tests anyway for this, but.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I think one challenge that's going to happen is that, integration tests are going to be expected to be a little slower. So we're going to have to figure out, maybe we want that timeout to be different for different test files. That's interesting.
So that we can have a really short timeout for real unit tests.
Yeah. What do you all think? Do you think that we should just move these maybe to a different spec file and then like, or do you think we should unitify? That was the two approaches, I think, is we can unitify this. That means we're gonna have to change our tests here, and it looks like we're missing some coverage here. Or we can just keep this integration, try to start introducing a new pattern to our front end, testing a little bit, and then maybe we can figure out how to set a different timeout for different types of tests. Please stop me if I'm about to do something really weird.
Yeah, so either way we go, I don't think that is going to solve the problem we have right now. That this test is taking a lot of time, and I think we could potentially solve that problem by making more parallelization of Jest tests. Like right now we have 2 Jest tasks that run in our pipeline. We could possibly have like maybe 3 or 4. So that overall time taken for Jest tests would be less. And second thing that I don't understand here is like, why does it take like 500 something milliseconds on our systems and like 5 seconds on GitLab.com?
You're asking a really good question. I think it's that our CI pipelines, those machines are not able to do as much parallelization as, you know, the nice MacBook that was so pleasantly purchased by GitLab. So I think tests by nature are going to run slower in CI, just because I think that we're using shared runners and all of that. Which means when it's slow, I guess what we have discovered, just looking at our test setup and knowing a little bit of the history here, when it's hits 500 milliseconds ish here, it's going to be, you know, about a few seconds over in CI. Like that's something that has definitely been observed, is that it's consistently slower in CI. And that's just, I think, just because our MacBooks and other local developed machines are a little bit faster than the pipelines for sure. But I'm also kind of maybe just coming up with that. I don't know. Well, we have a problem. We got to solve it. We could start introducing new patterns, which would create lots of discussion and potentially prohibit us fixing this problem sooner than later. I am a huge, so maybe this isn't a great time to do that, because we do not want to have flaky specs. There's also, we could just drop in a like ignore time. Like we can just drop in, we have something where we can ignore the timeout.
Are you leaning towards unitify all this?
I'm leaning towards it, but I'm sad to be losing some of test coverage.
The flaky slow test coverage?
What'd you say?
The flaky slow test coverage?
Mommy?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sad to be losing some of that. But you also look at this and you see, okay, we're asserting against, we're looking at component internals through all of this. So maybe there's not really we haven't tested at the right level either. Like we're not really looking at the input output of the component. This is an interesting one. I'm almost thinking of like, what if I just added a file roadmap app slow spec, and then just ignored, here's where all the slow specs are going, and then maybe later we can fix them or move them to some like permanent integration thing. And
one suggestion is like you can just pass a third parameter to the describe block, like that is the timeout. So like you can just pass like 10,000 in the third parameter. So this will ignore the global timeout.
Really? Is it in the it or the describe?
Yeah, anywhere. So like.
Oh wait.
That's cool.
Oh, but
yeah,
wait,
I just got to know.
Oh, I wonder if this follows the same. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if we're using that for our check here. Oh, this is all gonna fail because yeah. Okay, it decided to work this time. All right, we're gonna manually force it to blow up. Test setup. So if this is 490, all right, it blew up. Oh man, it took 500 that time. And I pass into here 1,000. Not entirely sure that's going to work out. Oh well, it beat for. Wait, did it work? I guess
it was 491. Yes.
You're right.
Yeah, so it worked.
That rocks. Oh wait, no, it failed that time. What is wrong with you? Oh, look, these times aren't even matching. I think that's my fault. Yeah, we'll just cast a blind eye to that. So yes, so these are different. So this value I put in here 1,000. The value that we're using here to initialize test timeout is definitely different. And it looks like we're not really quite looking at.
Yeah, we could possibly modify this function to consider the local timeout first.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, do you have a good idea how to do that? Maybe, I don't know. Do we want to? So that's another. This is another option. One option is let's isolate slow specs. The other option is let's fix them, make them unit tests, so they're not full mounting, and we're not doing all the JS DOM stuff. And the other option is let's adjust our timeout, our test timeout thing here, so that it can take in parameters for good timeouts that are set and whatnot.
On a per basis? Yeah.
Yeah, we could do it like per test. Yeah.
Because we'll need that if we're gonna go to the feature spec or feature directory thing eventually. You might still want that.
Yeah, I think it looks like we could do the set test timeout once thing. So we could go to I guess we can import this helper and then just set test timeout. Yeah, that's probably the most iterative thing to do. I forgot it. Timeout once. Helpers. Oh wow. Oh wait, no, this is the wrong place. Okay. Import set test timeout once. So for all of these that are doing full mount, we could do something crazy like test timeout once to 10 seconds. But I guess this is kind of thing we're gonna need to do for like more integration specs anyways. So yeah, this one took longer, but now it passes. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's cool.
Okay.
I like that it solved a problem. Small change.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good solution.
You think it is, or you don't think it is?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's like an ad hoc solution.
It is.
I think it's okay to do it for now, but later we should definitely figure out what's happening there and why these specs are too slow.
Yeah, that gap of 5 seconds on CI and 500 milliseconds here is concerning. But I know Vue Test Utils does like a whole lot, and when you do mount a full mount, that can get out of hand quick. I know. Okay. I will commit this, but maybe we can spend some time either tackling another test or if we want to unitify this. What do you think, Vitaly? Do you feel like that's a good solution to these kind of, when we have slow unit tests that are doing more integration stuff? Should we try to get rid of the full mounting behavior?
I think it's a good solution to fix flaky tests. We've set test timeout once, but in the end, it's still, like I said, ad hoc solution, and we should try to unify our tests. And I'm not saying we should migrate to shadow mount, because sometimes you really need to mount the whole component or the whole application to test just one thing. Otherwise, you have to mock all related stuff, which is not okay.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Then let's spend a little bit of it'd be interesting, I think, like what is taking the slowest amount of time here. So I'm going to isolate a spec and we're going to comment things out. Just see what's taking 500 milliseconds here. Is it the full mounts, or is it maybe some of the processing that we're doing? So I'm gonna oh, I have something here. I'm gonna focus on this one, and I'm gonna do.
Can you also print the amount of timers there, just to see?
Print the what?
Total timers count.
How do you get that?
I believe Jest dot get timer count.
Timer count?
Yeah. Because I believe when we are returning the view next tick, it just executes all timers that we have in our queue.
So just for it to do this mount, and let's even say like, okay, let me do this. Wow. Okay. Something in there is taking much longer than full mount. Full mount seems to not actually take that long. Like maybe it's like 100 milliseconds. Is it this dispatch? Oh man, is it Vuex?
I think it is. Boom.
Gosh. Because I guess.
I mean, why do we need to dispatch receive epic success? Because we can just mock them.
Yes, we should just set our state when we create our store before we even created the wrapper stuff. Because what's happening.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder what's happening in receive epic success.
Yeah, let's do that. I guess what's happening is, and this is a good thing to keep in mind for the speed of tests. You know, Vue creates listeners for everything, and if we create our components, we've created our store, and then we update our store, it's going to take a long time for it to go through updating all the listeners, as opposed to let's just create everything with what they need to look like to start with, so we're not having to do all these update ticks. That is a good point. Oh my gosh, we're doing more stuff than I was hoping we would do. Yeah, it looks like we're doing a few stuff here. If time frame extended, then we're sorting it and committing it. So I'm going to do something. I am going to suggest that we actually just commit to the store, whatever we need it to look like, rather than doing the whole action here.
Maybe you can just profile it and like try it in the Node.js profiler, and you'll just get a heap map of what is taking a long time. I haven't done that for Jest before, but I have done that for Karma. Whenever there's a slow test, you can easily profile using the browser's profiler.
Oh, well, Jest doesn't run in the browser.
Yeah, but it can run in VS Code. You can attach a debugger to it.
I haven't ever done that. I've seen people do it, and it's really, I'm always really impressed. Do I just run and debug? I don't know.
You don't have the configuration set up.
Okay. I'm a console log debugging person, and I know that that's not a good thing necessarily. Yeah, this process seems like it takes a long time. Like it's doing, and maybe our number of epics is really long. Do we even need all these epics? Maybe we just need like one of them. Let me also console log, because it doesn't look like we're doing anything with the epic data, right? Okay, so we're jumping into here. Okay. So I wonder if I just pass in like one epic if to these, it'll work rather than a whole bunch of them. So if I can just console log one of them. Does it make sense, my thought process? Do you feel like something is off? Or my goal is to, rather than dispatching this action, let's see what happens if I could just create one epic of what we're passing into here and replace that dispatch receive success thing with maybe these calls. And then if that's still taking a long time, we could see, okay, let's see what is our state that's actually changing and just set it to what we expect it to be. But I don't know. But it probably would really help doing this before we create the store, for sure. Maybe that's all I need to do. That would be interesting. Let's see if that helps. Didn't help that much. Are we destroying our wrapper? We are destroying the wrapper. I think this is just a slow action. So this is the epic. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. These are actually dates, right? Can I do this? That's not allowed.
Yeah, you can do that.
Will it parse the thing?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right, let's see what happens. So instead of doing this, we're gonna do these ones. Store.dispatch. I don't have types in here, do I? Oh, I do. Wow, we're already doing something. Let's see what happens. It's a lot faster now. I don't know what I'm doing. It doesn't make me super happy that I don't know what I'm doing. Oh yeah, let me see if.
How many epics does the original array have?
It has a lot. Yeah, I didn't count the length of it, but let me double check. Oh, look at this! So much faster now. Interesting. Interesting. Do I even need this one? Maybe I don't. Oh, I guess I do. Okay, never mind then. Yeah, let's figure out what was the length of it before is a good question. So let me go ahead and do. Okay. We had. What was it called? This action was called receive epic success. Receive epic success. Yeah. This is going to blow up, but we'll get the information of how many epics it had before. Nope, it's just going to blow up. Oh, because this doesn't want to, it doesn't need a, oh wait. No, I must have done something wrong. I think All right, I need to go back to what did I actually change? What was the actual call? It was raw epics. Oh, maybe then I don't, maybe I can just use, where's epics coming from? There's a difference between raw epics and epics. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see how many this leads. This is a good question. 11. That's not that much.
Yeah, I was thinking if it was 5, then it multiplies. So it's 500 almost.
Yeah. So it's not that much, but so check this out. Oh, here, it looks like I don't even need new epics. Where in the world is epics coming from? Oh, it's coming from here, which is coming from, oh, yeah, it's just one epic like this. Oh, that's great. I don't even need this one. Oh, brilliant. But it looks like it's not that action that's taking a long time either. It's that action creates lots of epics. But I think probably what's happening is from doing a full mount, we're mounting now, we're probably presenting 11 epics and doing maybe a bunch of different processing from there. I bet we can jump into the roadmap shell. Let's see, we have epics list section. Yeah, this in browser I see the benefit now to, I lost my train of thought, but profiling this would be super helpful. Yeah, we're getting a list of epic IDs. On mounted, we do some things. We initialize mounted, doing some next ticks on mounted. And then we do something for every epic. So I wonder if just rendering this stuff is slow. This doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot, but it's still doing a bit. So it must just be that the number of epics that we're presenting is causing a lot of rendering to happen, and that's a little slow. So I'm fine with not doing all of that. Maybe I can do just this now. No, it still wants that. Still wants that thing. I don't really know what's up with that thing, but anyways. So what do you think of this solution? I mean, it's made it slower now. I mean, it's made it faster now. Do we feel good with, we were using this nice action, but now we're not?
Can you sum up the change again? So it used to, what did you remove?
So before we would dispatch this receive epic success with this raw epics. And you know what I bet I could do? I bet I could just pick the first raw epic here and we can still keep this action. What was happening is this created like, I guess it was just 11 epics. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I guess when we're doing a full mount, and maybe it's some of the callbacks on some of these components and just their cost for creating themselves, since we kind of have a tendency not to do just nice pure functional components, doing a full mount caused it with all of these epics to be a little slow. So it looks like we can significantly speed it up by just doing a slice of the data where this raw epics seems to have like 11 entries in it or even more. Epics has just one entry in it. And so that's what made it a lot faster.
The benefit of using 11 before?
I think it was just convenient. Like we just had, this is how we were setting it up and this is our test data. So we're just using our test data. But I kind of wonder now if we can do this. I wonder if we can do this original action we were doing, but then just use the first one. Is that how it works? I think that's how it works.
You can just use the 0th element. You don't need to slice that.
Well, it is an array though, right? So I'd have to do like,
Yeah.
have to be something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot faster, and that's it. Okay, I'm happy.
Yeah, maybe you can just give it 2 epics.
Give it 2 epics, then I will do a slice.
Yeah. Yeah, so that should probably solve the problem for us for now.
There you go. 50 minutes later, one line changed. 4 engineers. That's what it takes. Oh, look how it's like almost doubled the speed. That's weird, right? Why is it taking so long? Okay, I really want to do this profiling thing Himanshu's talking about, but I know it's going to take me a while to configure and debug getting all that set up.
I sent you a Slack message with the JSON file. Yeah, it will. So there is a configuration called Jest current file. So you can just run the debugger and just add a breakpoint.
Okay, let's check that out. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Put this in my VS Code launch JSON.
Yeah. So these are 2 launch configurations.
Okay. So we're saying put this in VS launch JSON.
Yeah. Now you should have 2 configurations in the run panel. It's not going to. It's just for debugging. So you can just click the drop down and just current file, and now you can add a breakpoint to any of the any code here.
Cool.
You don't need. Yeah.
So could I like put a breakpoint here, and then we could see like this is some profiling stuff of what has happened, or?
It's not going to profile. It's just for debugging, but you don't have to do console.log every time. I still have to. I still have to figure out the profiling part, but yeah, that is also possible.
Okay, well, this is cool. No, that's super helpful. Yeah, that's super helpful. Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, that was really easy to get going. We should have this in our docs if it's not in there. I bet it is in there.
It's there in the Jest docs. So.
I see. Okay, cool.
Just configuration with the VS Code. So
that is super helpful.
Yeah, and it's going to run in the same terminal that you're running the code in.
Got it.
You can just click play and then it will run there.
Got it. So what I was wanting to do to kind of like profile it was I was going to comment out parts of the component to try to isolate what's the slow part of doing the mount here. So let's say if we were going to slice it and do, as much as we had before. If I go to, am I still focused? I'm not focused anymore. Let me go ahead and focus on this one.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a configuration for that as well, but I just don't know what to do to get that.
No, that's but this is super helpful. I appreciate it. So by process of elimination, I'm pretty sure it's in roadmap shell, so I'm not going to waste time figuring that out. I'm pretty sure this is causing the issue, so I'm going to just remove this. We'll see if it's faster now. Yes. Okay. So that one is significantly, that is causing some grief. Then No, I guess maybe it's our epic item that's slow. Yeah, it looks like, and that makes sense. For every epic item, we must be doing something that takes a long time. For each epic and displayed epics, maybe it's that processing of, what is actually a displayed epic here? Is that a computed that we're... I don't know. Is this virtual list an issue at all, maybe? Oh, that's a feature. We don't even have the feature enabled, so that should be fine. Maybe it's because we're generating a key for... That doesn't sound right. Let's go to epic item and see what's the dealio here. Updated. Maybe that's causing some problems. I'm going to remove this one. Oh, I haven't. I don't think I've finished this one yet. Let's see if... Nope. So that's not it, which is good. Is this timeline causing problems? That seemed to help, right? I don't know. I am just shooting in the dark. And if you think I'm doing the exercise in futility, please stop me. But yeah, that item timeline seems related. That removing that cut half of the render timeout. But I doubt we're doing anything fancy in there. So I wonder if it's because what I'm really curious is like, hey, are we doing some created event on some element that's going to get rendered a whole bunch of times, and that's going to cause some slowness. Like, do we have a hook on an element that's not like a top level element, but that's rendered all the time? Do we have a created hook? But I'm not totally seeing something like that. I am seeing, though, we just create a whole bunch of computeds, like, and that'll slow things down for sure. If at my store level we have data, but then I have to, all of my components I end up rendering have to massage that data and create watchers and massage it and create watchers, and just that's going to slow things down for sure. So I'm a huge fan of our store should service our components, and our components should be as dumb as possible. We shouldn't store things in our store that look like our backend. We should store what our front end actually needs. Because I think this data massaging could cause issues. Yeah, does anyone have any last thoughts or things about this issue? I'm going to create an MR for it because it looks like we can solve it by just passing in less epics, which is great. Any other kind of takeaways you guys feel like, or follow-ups we should have here?
Yeah, like if we go, I think that's going to improve the performance of the app as well. I think that's.
What did you say, Himanshu?
I'm saying that if we go and optimize this component to render faster, it's going to help us in the app too. So
Yeah.
I think maybe if we just ignore the test for now and just go and profile it in the actual app and see what is taking to so long. Like if it's taking like a few 100 milliseconds for just a few epics to render for one test, probably in the browser also it's very slow.
That
So
is
you
a
can go and
really, really good point. And yeah, and that's a really great point. We don't have to profile this in this test. Let's just profile it in production. Yeah, that's a great point. And I think it emphasizes why having these timeouts or having these tests fail when they're slow is huge. Because then
I think I just. Oh,
what'd you say?
sorry.
What'd you say,
I think
Vitaly?
I just found. I think I just found the problem. Could you
Oh.
please open Epic Item View? We have a delay function from Lodash there.
What?
Just try
oh
to
yes,
comment it out. I think
We're doing this
because
on. We do
yeah,
this on updated. Anytime
because
anything updates.
yeah,
Let's-
I'm not sure if anyone familiar about why we mocked the debounce function from Dash, because it uses the date from the browser, and since we are faking it with Jest, the debounce function will like spin forever.
Yeah, that helped out a lot. I think this is something we should we need to
Should we mock
escalate.
it as a the debounce function?
yeah, we can just
Oh, wait.
cause it to.
I'm not using all of the I'm not using everything yet. Sorry. Yeah. And let's just run this group.
Yeah, I think the problem is mostly with Lodash. So we should, whenever we have a slow test, we should just search for Lodash in that particular directory. So
Well, if we have a slow test, in my opinion, I mean that means that something slow is going to be happening in production, and so part of it should be. I removed it, and it looks like it's not that different. Bringing it back, yeah, these look the same. It is running them all faster now, for some reason. Oh, because I'm just running. I've just focused on these. I wonder if maybe this isn't even getting hit because maybe we're never actually updating. But this is a good thing this is a little bit of a weird thing for sure. I'm glad that there's a comment here. Oh, there we go. This one took too long, but it looks like we never hit the updated thing.
Yeah.
This is a good find. So I think one takeaway, and I really like what you're saying, is we can profile these things in production is a great approach of seeing what's slow here in production. And that highlights when tests fail because things are slow. That's a really, really good thing because now it's highlighting to us something is slow in production. And it's not like we should bend over backwards making our tests fast. Let's see if we can make our production code fast. That would be ideal. So I'm definitely going to raise an issue for this. We're going to fix this flaky spec with this approach, but we should raise an issue saying something was happening when I rendered. There's a huge difference between rendering 1 epic and 10 epics, and seeing what's the cause there, and could we make this better? Awesome. Anyone else have any other kind of thoughts or feelings about it?
I know that's it.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much, you and Vitaly and Jackie, for hopping on. This was a lot of fun. And I know at the end of the day, we just produced one line of code, but I feel more enlightened. So thanks for hopping on, Manchu. I know it's super late for you. Yeah, I hope you get some good rest over the weekend and have a great rest of your evening.
Yep. You too.
All
Have
right.
a great day.
See you all. Bye.
Bye. Bye.